Okay, welcome. I really want to congratulate you for doing all this research because that alone already puts you light years ahead of your competition in understanding and defining your niche. Most people, when they try to define this stuff, and a lot of the other training that's out there on niching asks you to just basically grab everything from inside your own head, which is essentially just navel gazing, right? Just making assumptions. Before we can make an informed decision, we need to, quite frankly, get informed, right? So this research eliminates assumptions and lets us base our niche decisions on the reality of our marketplace. So a couple of quick points before we build the statement. First off, our niche is telling people who we work with and not what we do. Realistically, nobody cares if you design logos or even build brands or websites, whatever. They want to know who you work with and what their reality looks like as a result. If you can give them that information, they can make the decision on whether you're relevant to them and either move on or ask for more detail. So, what their reality looks like as a result of working with you. What we're talking about there is describing a specific problem that you help solve or a specific result that you help deliver. I also want to come back to the question of an industry or a vertical, because no matter how many times you try this, every time people feel unsure or second guess themselves, they always go back to industry. And I just want to repeat, an industry is never going to be defined enough to satisfy requirements as a niche. Let's leave that to the commoditized hours for dollars crowd, right? Let me give you an example. Service-based industries account for over 80% of registered businesses in the United States, which is not nearly defined enough. And yet, I work with service businesses. It's one of the most popular niches you see out there. It's written all over the place. There is an enormous difference between a 1,000-person law firm and a 5-person driveway cleaning business, right? They share absolutely no common characteristics. So you would never be able to effectively communicate with them without going deeper. So the point I want to make, just regarding industry, if you do have an idea of an industry that you want to work in, that can be a good start. But industries will always be too broad. So you need to define a problem you can solve or a result you can give to go deeper, right? And that's what we're doing here. So that said, I'm going to switch over to my screen, and this is the format we're following to create a niche statement. I help person plus defining characteristic with problem to get so they can achieve result. I'll go through this in order so it makes a lot more sense. You're going to need to finesse the wording of this afterwards to make sure it sounds natural, and I'm going to give you a little trick to do that so that you can feel confident and natural saying this. But this template is going to get us all the information we need to properly define our niche. And I learned this from a friend of mine, Michael Killen, who teaches sales techniques to marketing funnel builders. So this is not new or proprietary or anything like that. He approaches this a very different way, but at the end of the day, this formula works. So let's look at the pieces here. First off, we're saying we help or I help. That's great when we're developing this, and it works pretty well when you're in front of someone telling them what your niche is. But once you get this written, you're going to want to give it some extra personality, which just means don't stick with we help. Instead, try and use we empower, we assist, we inspire, we energize, we motivate, we focus, right? All of these types of just extras to give it that little bit of oomph. First, let's just get it written though. So we're going to start off with we help. Person is just a reference to how your ideal customer thinks of and describes themselves, okay? So high performance relationship coaches, busy mums, crowdsourcing businesses, which can feel like you're describing an industry, but it's not. Or should I say, even if the terminology happens to overlap, the reason and context are different. So this is simply how your ideal customer thinks of themselves and describes themselves. So while high performance relationship coaches might be exactly how they describe themselves and exactly how their industry is described, you can see how crowdsourcing businesses doesn't refer to an industry at all, right? They just all share a common characteristic that they crowdsource, but it could be any industry. So we want to think of how they would describe themselves, but that's just step one. It doesn't mean we take on every single prospect who fits that definition. We want to continue narrowing this down. So defining characteristic should focus on who your sweet spot service is designed to help. For example, earlier we talked about busy mums who run digital course businesses. So if we offer a service that helps busy mums be more successful running digital course businesses, then that's our person plus defining characteristic. Alternately, another previous example, we could say busy mums who work part-time with 2 or more kids under 5. If we're talking about a service that helps them safely occupy 2 or more under 5-year-olds while they work, well, that's their defining characteristic. Now, that could be a scheduling app, or maybe it's a safe daycare, right? Either way, at this point, we're talking about who it helps, right? So we can begin to allude to our value before we even mention the results that we offer. So that's the person plus the defining characteristic section. These are the characteristics that your ideal prospects all share and which are central to the problem you can solve for them or the results you can provide for them, and that you require them to have in order for working with them to be successful. What this isn't is a phrase like who are struggling with X. That's not the characteristic. Again, that's who we help. Next, we're going to talk about how we help. So, we're going to help them solve a problem. We know that. That's a given. Otherwise, why are they calling us? But remember, our niche is telling people who we work with. So the goal is that people recognize themselves or someone they know when they hear it. So we want to talk about this in such a way that the listener sees themselves or someone they know, not us. They're not supposed to see us. They're supposed to remember us for sure, but they're not supposed to see us. They're supposed to see themselves or someone they know. Let me give you an example using the busy mums from before. We help busy mums who run digital course businesses and don't have time to prepare nutritious meals for their family, right? That's the problem we can help them solve. What about our friend with the 10-year-old product-based business? We help establish product-based businesses who are experiencing high return rates. Again, these are the problems that your review mining told you that your prospects are experiencing, and specifically the ones your sweet spot service can provide solutions for. Another example, we help high-performance relationship coaches who can't scale due to limited available hours. So maybe our sweet spot service shows them how to build a course or a group continuity program so that they can get more revenue in less time. So that's the how we help. Next is what we help with. Note this is not what we do, as in web design or graphic design or even branding. This is your situational characteristic after. So what do we help them do or what do we help them get? In the case of our relationship coach, we help high-performance relationship coaches who can't scale due to limited available hours launch group programs. So that's what they can do or what they get, right? Group programs. Or for our product-based business, we help established product-based businesses who are experiencing high returns to improve post-sale satisfaction. That's what they get, improved post-sale satisfaction. And of course, our busy mums, we help busy mums who run digital course businesses and don't have the time to prepare nutritious meals for their family get organic food prepared daily, okay? So that's the get. That's what they get. Finally, there's the why we help. And again, this is not a discussion about us. So this isn't our brand why or anything to do with our why. This is why does our ideal prospect want to get or achieve the how that we just discussed, right? This is going to be driven by the ideal future that you developed in your characteristics exercises, and those ideal futures were driven by the insights you developed in review mining. So you can see how all of this is coming together in your niche statement and being based on reality, right? This is how you truly uncover what's real instead of something that sounds exciting but has no basis in reality. So what's the ideal future that your client or that you provide to your clients? And we preface this typically with the 3 magic words, so they can, or in this format, so you can. Again, you'll finesse this wording and you may find so they can doesn't feel right, but it works perfectly for constructing the draft. So continuing the example of busy mums, We help busy mums who run digital course businesses and don't have time to prepare nutritious meals for their family get organic food prepared daily so they can have peace of mind that their family's nutrition is being cared for. Okay? That's the result. It's not what they get. The result is not what they get. The result is the ideal future. What about our product company? We help product-based businesses who are experiencing high return rates to improve post-sale satisfaction so they can develop total confidence around launching new products in the future. That's what they get. They have total confidence around launching new products in the future. That's the result. Let's take the example of a high-performance relationship coach. We help high-performance relationship coaches who can't scale due to limited available hours launch group programs so they can reclaim their freedom, right? That actually came from real insight that these coaches wanted to work less but make the same or more money. Or it could be scale their income so that they can do more meaningful work for higher impact clients, right? Now that might sound familiar to a few of you. We could have targeted the Brand Sprint Blueprint at people who wanted to work less for the same money. Higher value clients will certainly satisfy that. But that's not the real motivation for most of our ideal clients, the people that we absolutely love to work with. Because we know, courtesy of Tony Robbins, that humans have 6 basic needs, right? And a desire to do more meaningful work will speak to 3 of those 6 basic needs in different ways: significance, growth, and contribution, depending on where the listener is in their thinking, right? So that's what you're looking for here. You're looking at ideal futures for the why people want solutions. And if it's not clearly there yet, you just need to return to your research. Either gather more material or keep evaluating the research you've already gathered. This is not a time for guessing. This must come from your market to be based in reality. So we want to really try and target how the result you can deliver can elevate your prospects' lives, okay? Start with the practical. Do they want to finish work by 3 p.m. so they can pick their kids up from school? That's really practical. And then see if you can go deeper. Do they want to feel like they're making a mark? Do they want to feel like their expertise is changing the world in some way? What's the motivation and how is it related to the solutions you provide? Again, we help person plus defining characteristic with problem to get so they can achieve result, okay? That's the formula. Don't panic if this sounds wordy or if it doesn't sound perfect when you write it out. But if you do need to ask yourself if it speaks to you, you need to know, you need to say, does this sound like someone and something that you want to jump out of bed every morning to work with? There is no timeline on getting this right. I guarantee you'll be having epiphanies about this throughout the remainder of this course and probably further. Keep working at this until you get something that makes you leap out of bed excited to start work, either through more research or writing more drafts. This is not meant to be easy, by the way. If it was, niching wouldn't be one of the most searched for topics in small business, okay? Trust the process, do the research, and make progress. It will come. Now, just before I wrap this lesson up, I want to give you a couple of tips on what to do with what you've developed here, okay? First off, don't worry if it doesn't just fall into place the first time you try it. That's why I had you do your research and planning in Trello, so you have those assets to return to whenever you have the inspiration. Second thing I'd recommend, on the subject of inspiration, either start a Google Doc, or in my case I use Evernote, and just create yourself a niche document. And then just use this to brainstorm and store your ideas whenever they come about. So you could be making a deliberate and concentrated effort on your niche, right? You might have your Trello boards open, you might have your niche statement layout in front of you, and you might actually be trying to design your niche statement. Or you could just have an idea float to the surface while you're eating a sandwich in a diner. Either way, you need to have this document or this workspace prepared in advance so you can get those ideas down immediately and not risk losing them. Also, when you're writing these, you will inevitably get one down and then you'll go, oh, what if I said it this way? And you'll want to make some tweaks to parts of it. When you do that, copy what you've just done and tweak the copy so you can keep the previous thoughts intact. Keep doing that until you get to something you love. Something that says, yes, this is exactly what I want to do every day. Only then should you think of deleting anything. And even then, I would just archive your work and keep the final version available, okay? And for your Trello boards, these are business assets, so treat them that way. Return to them whenever you find yourself needing some clarity, and also keep updating them as you move along. There's stuff that basically becomes irrelevant, and then there's new stuff that you can keep adding at all times. So that's the way you keep them updated. You delete the stuff that's no longer relevant, and you add the new stuff as you go along. But these are evolutionary pieces of business asset, right? Especially the review mining board, because you can use that for every piece of copy, messaging, or brand-related decision-making moving forward. And then one final tip. These typically sound pretty formulaic the first time you write them out, okay? But you can't get it sounding more natural until you feel more natural saying it. So when you've decided on your niche, I always suggest telling everyone you can about your niche. And I want to give you a simple way of doing that without feeling too self-conscious. If you say it like it's a given, like there's no question about the problems that your audience are feeling, you can structure it like a question, okay? So you would say, you know how person plus defining characteristic always struggles with problem? I help them get so they can achieve result. I think I learned that from Donald Miller, the actual structure from memory, but just breaking it down into a question like that at the start changes the way your response is received. Because humans are hardwired to respond to a question. Frank Kern calls this a pattern interrupt, right? Our brains hear a question and we must respond. Even if it's just internal, just in the back of your mind, there will be a response. Now you've got their attention. They've agreed with your premise, the first part of your niche statement there, and you only have to deliver the second half to justify the premise. Try it. I guarantee it will make your delivery feel and sound more natural, okay? So that's all I wanted to say is give yourself a break if this doesn't happen immediately, and also treat your Trello boards like business assets, and they'll be incredibly useful when you need them.